Hello guys, and today is a very different video, but I think an equally important one. I'm going to be talking about the current situation in the game with microtransactions, better known to you as... Do they really call me at this time? I'm going to be talking about the current situation in the game with microtransactions, better known in RuneScape by Treasure Hunter. I've spent a decent amount of time on this video. I know it's going to be controversial, so please feel free to comment down below your opinions if you disagree. And if you want to further your discussion, the best place to do that is definitely the RS3 subreddit. Literally just make a comment or a post about MTX sucking and just watch those upvotes go in. So, what are the current claims and complaints about MTX? Well, it devalues the achievements of leveling up, unfair advantage, it's being shoved down our throats, it's simply too overpowered, it's ruining the game, as well as many more, but these are the ones I'm going to be covering. So there's a few arguments there. That's not everyone's point of view, but it's certainly shared by a large part of the vocal part of the community. I disagree largely with this, and I'm going to explain why. Don't just shoot me now for it, but I think Treasure Hunter is an issue, but I think it's part of a larger problem you'll see later on in the video. I agree, it definitely devalues the achievements of players, which seems like a minor thing, but RuneScape, huge part of people's lives. People who get 120 agility or fishing, for example, it's a big deal to them, and it can now just be bought. Even max doesn't seem impressive anymore. I'm still aiming for that, but let's not forget how long the game's been out. So naturally there are way more max players now, and also the XP rates are so much faster if you were to compare it with old school RuneScape. This means the achievements become more and more common and less impressive, with or without Treasure Hunter. Second argument of it being shoved down our throats, or the meme I'm sure you've got to see of buy bonds everywhere over the screen. Treasure Hunter literally pops up when you log in, you click off it and you forget about it. I don't think that's being shoved down our throats. A very weak argument. And as for being bombarded by promotions, yes, there's promotion changes, but you still just press X to click off it. It really doesn't affect you if you don't buy keys. Just ignore it. Third is that it's overpowered. People describe it as if you just whack out your credit card, spend £200 and you're maxed. This is just so untrue, and we have two great examples of how this isn't the case at all. Dovidas, also known as a friend, maxed an account using only Treasure Hunter, and it cost him $13,000. I'm pretty sure $15,000 once he leveled up Invention afterwards as well. Now, I'm not sure who thinks that is a sensible purchase. It really does baffle me. You could buy a car, put a deposit on an apartment, maybe even a house for that. It's crazy. I'm also not sure most of the RS player base even has 13,000 to spend. I think the majority are around 18 to 24 these days, so even if they wanted to, they couldn't afford it. It's crazy. People call a system that costs £13,000 to max overpowered. In terms of using in-game money, ScapeMate spent 750 mil on keys. Now, you people in PVM every day might think that's a little amount, but most of the player base never had a bank worth of 750 mil, and he only got around 14 million bonus XP including dummies and everything. That is a fairly small dent in terms of hitting like max level or something. In fact, if you're going for all 200 mil, that is just nothing in the grand scheme of things, but that's why I don't believe it's overpowered. Next is it's ruining the game or an unfair advantage. Like I said, in terms of ruining the game, it is a small part of the problem, but that's more the direction it's heading rather than Treasure Hunter just itself. I think if you ask yourself, how does this affect you directly? I don't think it does. It kind of just speeds up their progress, you know. Someone has higher stats than you can get those stats. It will just take you a little longer. There's nothing that, because of Treasure Hunter, another player can do that you can't do. Like, if there was a tier 95 weapon that could only be obtained through Treasure Hunter, or maybe a part of the map that was locked off, that would be outrageous, but there's nothing like that at the minute. I just don't see how it massively affects the game. I'm not actually sure on the items locked by Treasure Hunter. I know there were skilling outfits that they have now made obtainable without Treasure Hunter, but there really doesn't seem to me anything that's blatantly unfair about the items you receive. Obviously, it sucks that someone can just come in and spend some money to level up, but they're also going to be spending a lot of money. That's what you have to bear in mind. I feel like I'm making all the arguments for Treasure Hunter, and just to be clear, I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it, but it also doesn't bother me too much. And I wouldn't say don't bother playing RS3 to like new players because it's ruined by overpowered promotions, like I've seen a lot throughout Reddit. Although it technically doesn't affect me, it does feel like the whole point of RuneScape, which is largely leveling and feeling like you've achieved something, has been devalued. I remember back in the day, oh god, the nostalgia here, killing moss giants for hours on end to get 70 attack for a whip. Just being so proud when I got that 70 attack. I feel like Treasure Hunter and the way RS3 is heading in general, you just don't get that anymore. You're not killing the moss giants, you're just AFKing in the abyss, and it's just not the same. So why does Jagex do this? It's pretty simple really, money. Treasure Hunter makes them a lot of money. There's no figure on how much, but I'd hazard a guess it's a lot more than membership. Membership is once a month's purchase for £5, whereas people buying Treasure Hunter keys are putting hundreds, sometimes thousands of pounds into the game each week per person. It quickly overtakes membership money, even though a lot less people are doing it. And all this money literally has no effort. Like, for a membership, to keep hold of a membership, you usually need to do some sort of updates or a reason to keep playing, because once people achieve what they need, they'll just move on and cancel membership. Treasure Hunter, you literally just go, well, we'll put smouldering lamps out today. Yeah. And then just money literally just comes in because people are buying stuff. But it's a limited resource, to be honest. There's only so many people who are willing to spend thousands of pounds to get 200 mils or max. Once those people go, Treasure Hunter dries up, but at the minute it's showing no signs of slowing down, unfortunately. There's definitely been a massive increase in the amount of promotions and especially the power of these promotions, but you can take that as two ways. They're either making so much money off it, they're just like, just throw these bloody promotions out, we're getting money. Or it is slowing down, and to keep that money at the same rate they used to, they're doing more and more overpowered promotions. But like I said, I think it is a thing that will, over time, make them less and less money and hopefully make it less and less part of the game, really. That's Treasure Hunter pretty much summed up. Do I like Treasure Hunter? No. Would I like it out of the game? Yes. Am I going to spread negative press about the game based purely on this? No. I'm just going to accept it doesn't directly affect me and focus on the real issues with RuneScape currently, such as zero promotion of the game. I literally have never seen an advert for RuneScape in my life. And I remember they did address this in a Q&A. They were like, you already play the game, you know. We're not targeting you with updates or promotion. I'm just thinking, I already play Destiny, or I already play FIFA, or I already play COD. And I just get bombarded with adverts. Obviously, they're much bigger games, but you'd like to see something of like, come and play RuneScape. They've done some Twitch promotions recently, which is nice to see, but how do you expect a game to grow if no one's talking about it? We've also seen broken updates, broken promises, and a list of excuses as long as my arm about some of these issues. So think of this as a part 2 of the video. Now keep in mind when I say Jagex, I mean the company. Unfortunately to us, the mods are kind of the face of the company. They definitely are the best form of communication with Jagex, but they do pick up all the shit we throw at them, and it's for something they don't really have a say in. If they're understaffed or don't have the resources, they can't change that. I feel they're passionate about the game, but are struggling to make a shitty situation work, so don't send hate their way. Perfect example of this is, they were basically apologising about Treasure Hunter and said they had a 2-day meeting where this would be brought up. And while these mods are doing effectively damage limitation with the community, Jagex release Smouldering Lamps, arguably one of the most overpowered MTX promotion. It just shows decisions are coming down from the owners. And the owners obviously don't give a shit about us, so it sucks the mods are getting a lot of the hate. All I'm saying is just bear in mind going forward, I'm not bashing the mods, I'm bashing the company. So where on earth do I start with recent events? I feel like MTX was partially the final straw from a build-up of frustration, but also an easy target to say, oh, look at these awful owners, all they care about is money and not the game. Great segue into where I'm starting this. It's a relevant quote on how the owners describe RS3. They called it a cash cow, which for those of you who don't know, in business it means something that requires very little investment but returns a steady income. Now, people have already dismissed this, it's just a throwaway comment, it doesn't matter, but I wanted to include this as I feel it fits perfectly with what's happening in RS3 at the moment. Updates are cancelled, delayed, or just poor quality when they come out, shows a lack of investment, yet memberships, although trending down very slowly, are actually pretty steady, so it keeps them with a steady income. So throwaway comment or not, it seems to fit the bill surprisingly well, really. I just wanted to show the mindset of the owners. It kind of backs up my points a little bit. So what do I mean when I say part of a larger problem? If you look back over the past 12 months, RS3 has so many reasons to be angry. Empty promises, poor updates, so many issues when the updates come out, from balancing to bugs. The meme that the players of Jagex's QA team is more and more relevant every day. So let's just give an example of something that pisses the community off, should I say. Like, it's a give and take relationship, and when you piss them off, people are going to react. But the gold VIP members got their first promotional prepaid item for free, which you will not believe. So they basically got told when they bought the membership, they would get some prepaid card items for free. There's an extra incentive to go for the gold option. And it's not a joke. This item came out 10 months into their membership. And again, this is not a joke. They literally changed the colour of an outfit they released for free months ago and said this is like a premium thing. It just, oh God. It's like in class when you're just like, okay, you can copy my homework, but change it a little bit. You just can't make it up from a big company. An excuse they gave was even better. It's deliberately ambiguous, basically just in case they release them. I could not improve on a comment that someone had already left, but they said, imagine buying a 20 pack of toilet roll, getting home and find there's only 2, but that's okay because it's ambiguous. This is just terrible business practice. I'd be furious if I bought the gold membership and got this. There are other benefits to the gold membership where it's still worth getting, but you can't list a benefit and then release something like this. People really underestimate the value of goodwill in gaming. Think about No Man's Sky by Hello Games. So overhyped, but a disappointing, empty game which didn't live up to any of the promises they made. Sounds scarily like the RuneScape updates. That's them done. The amount of people buying that next game will be a fraction of what it was before. With RuneScape, they've built up some goodwill, so mistakes are getting accepted, which is why memberships stay steady, but goodwill is running out, and there will be a point where people have just had enough, and I feel like it's approaching, and stop playing. Next, we have the updates, and while I'd say updates are bad, we're actually lucky if we get the updates they announced in the first place. Mining and Smithing rework was scheduled not to start development, but to be released in-game for September 2016. Over a year after it was meant to be in-game at RuneFest, Modmark is hyping up the fact they've started development on Mining and Smithing rework. And I'm like, is this an achievement that it's only a year late and it's not even in the game? We have no idea when this will be out, as we can't trust any of their time estimates. There were several things from the mods over the past year about how much work this update is going to take, and I just don't get it. Any other company of this size, you don't hear them going, oh, this update's so much work, sorry. Don't know if we're going to get around to doing it, really. They just get on with the work and do it. Delays are common in gaming nowadays, but just the open moaningness about the work is just something I've never seen before. So from one update we might end up getting it 2 years late onto another project that they've gone quiet about, and it is the much anticipated bank rework. It was due to be released in the second half of 2017. It's October now, we're not hearing much, so my hopes aren't high. But what we have heard, the code's all messed up, there's too much work again, same old, same old. This update had 69% of players who took the poll say it was important or very important. It's not even new content, it's just a huge quality of life update that people would love to have. But despite it being number 1 on Jagex's unfinished business poll, it seems to be way down the list on their priority, with an update in April saying once a team is available they will continue to work on the project. And on top of that, they've had mods who were working on the bank rework move to RS Mobile instead. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think mobile will do good for the game, but I just can't wrap my head around why Jagex feels the need to announce these updates hype them up just to scrap, delay or not release them. They've already released like a dev diaries or something on it, showing how they're going to do it, and everyone's like, oh my god, this is so good, we need it in game. But if you're not going to release it for another year, don't get people's hopes up, because then they can't be disappointed about it. It's madness.
We talked about. Well, the biggest unfinished business is perhaps the bank rework. Don't cheer, don't cheer just yet. It's still, I know, I'm sorry, it's still one of our top priorities, and genuinely, we are very sorry that you haven't got hold of it yet. Hand on heart is something that we've woefully underestimated, and it's important for us to be honest with you. The work involved with the bank stuff is involving several teams across multiple products. And we want it so much, but we refuse to give you something half-baked, because you don't want that. It needs to be done properly, and I'm sorry, but for that, we're going to have to wait. Now, perhaps the same can be said for mining and smithing. We share your pain. We want that to be the best it can be, and you've told us quite clearly in the latest in-game poll that anything other than a complete rework just won't do. Excitingly, I can reveal that proper development work has finally started on mining and smithing last week. We're done talking about it, so we're just going to do it.
So while these updates are floating in no man's land, at RuneFest they're teasing a new skill, and I'm sat there watching the stream like, what on earth are you doing this for? They have so much unfinished business to work on. Just stop with these half-assed updates and fix the game. A perfect example of hype is Menopause and 120 Slayer.
50,000 people used to live here. Now it's a ghost town.
I posted a thread on Reddit asking what went wrong with 2017, and there were some great points made. Some of them almost perfectly summed up Menopause. Menopause was supposed to be a grand, beautiful city for mid-levels, to have a hub and tons of secrets to unlock. Instead, we got factions that are required for quest point cape and comp, forcing a lot of max players to come in and do skilling they really didn't want to do. Didn't help it was teased for months, over a decade if you count Sophenheim, maybe not the Sophenheim decade bit, I think I disagree with that, and Jagex hyped the shit out of it. This would also supposedly set the standard for every expansion afterwards, and many players just felt let down. I think they didn't help themselves actually, there was such a grind for the high level players, although it is comp cape and that, but high level players are the majority of the player base now. When all those people are bitching about it, everyone just, you know, I didn't do much Menopause, but I'd ask people and they'd be like, it's crap. Although it was probably really good for mid-levels, but on to the next comment. Apart from the impressive visuals, the only things memorable about the update once you finish the content are the incredible reputation grind and scathing lack of new monsters to fill the 21 Slayer levels. Plus, if you make a mid-level hub and fill it with content that speeds up plowing through those mid-levels, also don't have any significant use to these resources obtained, the hub's effectively dead content in no time at all. This could not be more true. There are no good resources gained at Menopause. I mean, you could use, I think some of the fish are okay, but there's nothing for high level players. There's no reason for them to be there. And like the guy said, once you've got your mid levels, which don't take long nowadays, you simply move on and there's no reason to go back to Menopause at all. And Menopause looks great, so it's such a shame. But it certainly fills a gap, but it was overhyped for what it is, and it feels like a disappointment. Now, not everything should be endgame content, obviously, but that's where the majority of the players are now, and Menopause wasn't sold to us as basically a little skilling gap fill. It was a giant city with so much to explore for all the levels, and apart from skilling areas, the city feels more empty than bloody Chernobyl. Then 120 Slayer. 120 should be the peak of a skill. Something that makes you feel more powerful or better because you're at that elite level in the skill. Just really did feel like the same old, same old. Before Menopause, they started work on 120 Slayer, was releasing Gemstone Dragons, and I'm not even going to get into them, but I don't know if any of you can remember the shitstorm that was Gemstone Dragons. Oh god, the balancing was so bad, it was almost funny, really. Oh. I could talk about all this stuff for days, but I don't want to be too harsh on the people who are trying to make the game better every day. The hate comes from players actually passionate about the game. They're concerned with where it's heading. The owners clearly don't care about the quality of the game or the player satisfaction, because it works for them right now. They're getting money, but players aren't going to stick around for long. A loose comparison would be Destiny. With each expansion came a boom of new players, and old players would get back into the game, and the numbers would fall for a little bit until the new expansion comes out. It keeps the game fresh with a lot of new activities to do, and it leads to a healthy game. I can't think of an RS update for a while that has brought a boom of new players in and given them a reason to stick around for more than 2 days. Personally, I'm really liking the look of old school RuneScape. The updates, Dead Man mode looks so fun, and I love watching the game. I'm really considering giving it a real go, but we will see. It takes a lot of time to do. I definitely want to learn some PKing, but you got to put in the time to create an account first, so I'm unsure on that. But just old school RuneScape raids, the lot, like, it's a little more basic than RS3, but it looks fun. It definitely is more of a grind. We'll see. Thanks for watching my rant. If you disagree, leave it in the comments. Leave your opinions in the comments. Like I said, Reddit is a really good place to talk about stuff like this, and you can feel free to dislike the vid and roast my opinions, but hopefully I will see you soon in another video. See you later.
I'd love to meet the local birds if only they were fit. It's just a shame they're the kind of birds that cover you in shit. Felix the marketeer is there to sell his dodgy plunder. He's a scammer and a hornswoggle too. Hang on, he's gonna chunder. Oh, come on, lads, just get me back.